Alright guys, so let's break down the Detroit Lions tape from yesterday's win. This is like a triple option. This is so cool, man. I couldn't believe this live. Is the reason why they do this. So once you hand it off to St. Brown, the edge defender collapses. This is the edge right here. So then all St. Brown does is just pitch it, shovel it to Jahmyr Gibbs. And that way, once he catches it, again, the edge is out of the pitcher. Laporta's got Marlon Humphrey blocked off. Spinay Sewell. It's just a walk-in touchdown. Like, look how this sort of unravels. Because by the time he pitches it, Gibbs is too fast. I mean, you can see he turns, makes a play on it, but he's not catching Gibbs. Laporta's got Humphrey blocked off. There's just no defensive player that's catching Gibbs to that point, man. He literally walks in. This is beautifully drawn up. And now we've got, it's sort of like a flea flicker. Usually it's up and then back to the quarterback, but literally it's a pitch to the right to get the defense that way. And then you can see St. Brown is just running he's just going to run a crosser. Montgomery throws it to Goff. There's also Laporta's honestly open. It'd be a tough window with Humphrey running up there, but yeah, just take what they give you, man. You can see perfectly thrown ball to St. Brown. And look at it from this angle. So by the time the defense realizes it, they're all running. And obviously, you just eliminate that. So you've got two open receivers here. Humphrey obviously doesn't want a touchdown to happen, so he's going to go up here. And then by the time he kind of realizes it's going to St. Brown, it's too late. So he got St. Brown in motion, and all he does is it's just a double move. It's like a stop and go kind of. Just that little stutter freezes him. I thought Marlon Humphrey had a really bad game, but sometimes you have to realize that great offense beats great defense. Perfectly thrown ball. Something that doesn't get talked about enough is how perfectly thrown this is. Watch that. You can't throw a better football than this. The only opportunity is St. Brown. The DB can't even make a play on it. He just tries to play Brown's hands and hit him, but it doesn't even matter. And now we've got, this was the 4th and 2 that iced the game. So the interesting thing about this play is by the time Humphrey realizes that St. Brown is running a route, all he can do is grab him because it would have been a free touchdown. It's a 4th and 2, so it's an automatic first down regardless of how many yards it is to go. But he just grabs him, and then Goff still throws a perfectly thrown ball. It's very similar to the play we just showed. It's like identical almost, the throw. The Ravens ran the ball 3 times with Derrick Henry. They get stuffed. Now it's a 4th down, and they decide to go for it. I thought this was a terribly drawn-up play by Todd Monken, which is nothing new in a big moment. So it's a fake to Henry. Nobody budges because they had already run it 3 straight times. So now Lamar keeps it. Henry's open. Literally, Henry's wide open for a walk-in touchdown, but Lamar is looking this way, and there's just nothing there. Covered. Yeah, you might be thinking, oh, hey, roll out and hit him on the move, but the Lions are all reading this, and they're going to start jumping up. Jump. So that's not going to work, and then Lamar's on one leg, and he just gets wrapped up. Jack Campbell right there. It's such an awesome defensive stand right there. The beautiful thing about this, guys, is how it just opens up. He's actually going to go and then jump through. He's going to cut through to the gap. Look. That's just elite offensive line play. See, the linemen have got their arms up. It wasn't a touchdown, but still, I mean, this was just absolutely crushing for the Ravens. They were gassed, and it showed right there. And then this is the dagger. This puts away the game. Dave Montgomery, I believe he had 4 runs of 10+ yards. One was like a 41-yard, or I think no. Let me see. This is a 31-yard run right here, and then he had that 71-yard run. What a game of the Lions, jeez, man. So last night, the Detroit Lions picked up a 38-30 victory over the Baltimore Ravens on the road. This is one of the biggest regular season wins for the Lions in the Dan Campbell era. Everyone figured they'd lose. And boy, were they wrong, because Detroit dominated in the trenches. They rushed for 224 yards. That's the second time the Ravens have given up over 200 rushing yards in what, 30 years since they've existed. It's just crazy to think about. And on the other side, Lamar Jackson was sacked 7 times. I mean, I know this game says 38-30, but it just felt like the Lions were the better team the entire game. Lamar Jackson's Lamar. He's going to get his. But the Ravens have some serious concerns. They've given up the most points in football through the first 3 weeks. I thought Jared Goff played a very efficient game. He picked up some big third and fourth yard downs to Amon-Ra St. Brown and, of course, to Sam Laporta. Jameson Williams had 2 big catches. His 2 catches were literally on the opening drive, which set the tone for this game. It sort of set what it was going to be like as the Lions went up 7-0. They went forward on 4th and 3. And that's another thing about Detroit is it's forward down territory. It's tough to stop them when they have 3, but when they have 4, I mean, good luck. And that's why the Lions the past 2 weeks have just been, without question, the best offense. I don't know what I watched in week 1 against the Packers, but I knew that wasn't the Lions. I understand that Ben Johnson went to the Bears, but it didn't mean that the Lions were just going to stop scoring and stop being creative. And I thought in this game in particular, they called up a couple of just crazy big-time plays that helped win this game. So you got to give them credit and the staff for the game plan that they put together. David Montgomery, I remember a couple of years ago, they brought him in free agency. They drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. They called him Sonic and Knuckles, which is an analogy from a game that I used to play growing up as a kid. Montgomery had 151 rushing yards. He had a 72. He had multiple big runs in this game. You have to when you have 12 carries for that many yards. And I haven't looked at the tape yet defensively, but I thought specifically Derek Barnes and Muhammad both played very well. Aiden Hutchinson, of course, is always going to have that type of game. But the Lions, they've put together some really good defensive players. And now that they're healthy, last season they were just missing so many guys. It's starting to really show what this team is capable of at full strength. So they've now beaten, of course, the Ravens. And, of course, last week we saw them just absolutely steamroll the Bears. So they're starting to gain some momentum. The offense put up over 50 that game, a 38. So back-to-back just explosive weeks. You could definitely tell that the long drives the Lions put together exhausted the Ravens' defense. And they just fully capitalized on it. And there was only so much the Ravens' offense can do because they didn't run the ball well. Now, Derrick Henry finishes with 50 rushing yards. I mean, how many of those came in the first quarter? Or not even the first quarter, but the first drive that they had where they scored. Baltimore just didn't get anything going offensively. They had a couple of big plays resulted in Ravens scores, but overall, when the Lions had to make a play, they did. When they had to make a stop, they did. I didn't even mention that they stopped Baltimore. Well, first of all, Henry had 3 straight carries and he got stopped, and then they went to Lamar and they stopped that. I mean, that's a big-time defensive stand right there. To go with scoring in the opening drive to get that stop. And then, of course, they picked up the 4th and 3 in the opening drive. They picked up a 4th and 2 late in this game to sort of ice it. I know the Ravens got the ball and scored, but they didn't recover the onside. Detroit is for real, man. And it's just crazy to me how so many people wrote them off. Jared Goff is just the prototypical, not modern quarterback because they're so athletic, but Goff he just reminds me a lot of like Phillip Rivers and Peyton Manning from when I grew up watching football. He doesn't exactly move around, but he just stands in the pocket and throws absolute dots. There was a couple of awesome throws by Goff. Again, it's much cooler to go and look at the tape and to see it, but just from like remembering the game last night, Goff put some balls in the money. I remember he had this one throw to Sam Laporta in particular, and I know Joe Buck was like he couldn't have handed to him any better. Goff deserves a lot of credit, man. I mean, he's been to a Super Bowl with the Rams, and he's been a part of some really good Lions teams. And remember Goff's first season, they won, 3 games, was it, guys, or something like that? So it's been a very long journey. Before the Lions, they've certainly arrived. Week 1 doesn't really count, if we're being honest. I mean, it counts as a loss, but nobody really takes Week 1 too seriously because everyone said, the Lions, they're not going to make the playoffs, and then they score 52 points against the Bears and 38 against the Ravens on the road. For Detroit, they're far from finished. I mean, they're going to have to take on the Browns next week, who might not seem terribly difficult, but I mean, they only gave up 10 points against the Packers. That's going to be a very good test for this Lions offense to see what they can do. The Ravens and the Bears defenses, it's not like they're all world. So, let's see what they could do against Cleveland and then Cincinnati. But then they do take on the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. 2, in my opinion, Super Bowl contenders. Minnesota, who's really good. Washington, Philly. Jane Daniels will be back for that game. So Detroit, it's good that they're starting to click right now because they've got the Browns and the Bengals, but then they're going to have a bunch of playoff, even Super Bowl contenders to take on. It doesn't get any easier. I mean, they have the Packers, the Cowboys, Rams, Steelers, Vikings to end the season. This is a very, very difficult schedule.